Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello.
Hello. So somebody had a big birthday.
I was like, what is happening? What are you talking about? Even when Johnny says things, I get super confused. I'm like, why are we doing these things? Yeah, it was my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Except I
I was
wasn't
like, you're taking away the limelight of
happy.
me. Happy birthday, you.
But like, you know, I love GH. So for me, I'm like, yay, like even watching GH on my birthday is fun. Um, but I wasn't happy with this week. I don't know about you, but just not like what is it that
Okay, but
General
like, what is
Hospital,
happening?
but what do they not understand about like the fact that we as a community feel like there has been just a lot of loss in every sense
Yes.
of the word. And I'm just like, okay, no. Okay, let's just try this again. Remember the wedding you had? Loving it, on board. Everything
Yes.
after the wedding, what are you doing to us? So, I mean, I just find this really hard. Like, obviously, we saw the substance abuse storyline progress.
Yes.
I think last week we talked about how Tracy steps in, and I mean it makes sense, right? She's the final step, the final word. Her scenes with him were phenomenal. The way that she stood her ground, the way that she said difficult things that would have been too much for anyone else to say. Um
Yes.
she hit the nail on the head when she kept repeating Violet's name to him, like when
100%.
because it's got to be hard, like they all love him and it's not the person they know. And so watching all of these things, and then Michael Easton makes a post and I'm like, why? Just to tell us bye for the summer? Okay, I'll
Right?
accept. Just totally in denial. I listened to the whole thing and I'm just staring. I'm like, that can't be possible. It just can't be possible.
I felt the same way. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, do what you need to keep this man, let him go and do whatever else he wants to do, and you bring him right back after the 90 days is over, and then we resume happy life and his fantastic storyline. Like, he's carved such a space for himself with the writers have carved such a great space for Finn and seeing where he's gonna go and grow. And to take that away, I am at a loss.
But I felt like he was very much a staple, right? And that's
Yes.
what's like exceptional about, let's say, if you can compare this family to the Ashford family, right? You have Finn that comes in as lone wolf, Mr.
Mhm.
Cranky Pants, and then over time his world got so much bigger, and that's what was really cool about it, right? Finn has his friends, and then he developed this family. Violet connected him, you know to Elizabeth and her family, right? So there was an extended family there. He had made some really good friends on his own between like Curtis and Alexis. And then when his family began expanding on the show, right? Like he had his brother come in, his dad, like some really intense storylines. And it's like the Ashford family, you know, well, I mean, Curtis was already there, but I mean like Trina, right? Because Trina
Yes.
comes in and then a family was curated around her. And to me, like these families are just a part of Port Charles. Like that's just it. So for me, I just could not understand families that are an integral part of the show. To me, they've been completely cemented into the entire landscape. I just could not understand the full blown dismantling. Like you started a storyline with Gregory, and as much as we all wished there was a miracle cure, we can understand an important story to tell, but they really like gut punched us with his loss
Mhm.
immediately after the wedding. Mind you, I get it, right? That contrast really drove the hurt home for all of us. And I get it. And okay, fine. Finn was having a hard time. Okay. All right. I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'll go along with this storyline. I was hoping everybody would end up at the Quartermains, including Finn. You know what I mean? Just as the
Yes.
part of like further just the bond with Tracy and her like evolving. I just felt like these were her people. Come on in.
Mhm.
They were really becoming a family. And I honestly cannot wrap my head around it. I'm just so frustrated. Like I was thinking, okay, fine, summer off, but it's like, I don't know. I really wanted Chase and Brooklyn to move into the Quartermains. I just didn't think it would need all of this just to make that happen. They literally could have just been like, "We're moving. You have a bigger house. We fit inside."
Right?
You know, like Chase is sad. I like being around Tracy. You know, like I mean, we didn't need this, right? And I don't, I still don't even know what to think about it. I'm so in shock, and I'm just like it just feels like whiplash this week. Morgan's coming back for a day. Lucky's coming back for the summer. Michael Easton's leaving. It's like, did you think that we would miss that huge news? Like, while it's absolutely amazing to have these characters back, I'm so excited. I think it's so amazing that the actor playing Lucky is open to coming back and like playing
Yes.
on the show. Morgan coming back for a day. I'm like, look, I'll take it, but we all know it's just some sort of fantasy at this point. Like,
Right.
he's haunting someone, so that's pretty much it. But like, do you honestly think that's enough to forget that Finn's not going to be on the show? Like, I mean, this is who we're watching every day. We understand that some characters come and go in the sense of like their storylines are prominent, and then sometimes they go off into the background a little bit. But Finn has been on the show consistently for so long, so I mean, at the very best, I get it. You're wrapping up a big storyline. If Finn fell in the background a little bit, that would make sense. But to not
Yes.
be on the show entirely, I find it frustrating. Like I'm just confused. Like it's like even with Steve Burton, I'm so happy he's back. He will be here for like longer stories, but even he said he has a couple of good years, you know?
Yes. Ugh.
And I mean, people grow and he has other things that he does in his life that are more fulfilling and that he really enjoys. So for him, it's just like, I want to finish my acting career here. Who knows? If we're lucky, they'll make the stories amazing and he may want to stay. So it's like you have all these really fun returns, but we all know that they're relatively temporary returns.
Mm.
And it just
Yes.
kind of sucked that someone we like trusted and felt like you're gonna be here, right? Just stop it with the change. Just stop it. Like I think it's a lot. It's too much.
Well, one of the reasons that I love this soap opera so much or is the consistency in characters, knowing that there's like a Sunny forever, a Carly forever, a Jason forever. Us as fans, I find like comfort in that, right? It's like these people
Yeah.
you see all the time. So seeing them come and go, we feel it and we feel it hard because we're invested in a very healthy way.
Well, but it's part of your day to day. But like most of all, like I understand Gregory's death, he was sick. But
Hmm.
what I had loved the most, and I mean, General Hospital has always been really amazing at moving with the times, right? Like
Yes.
the female friendships evolved. There was even a time where I was like, what's happening? Where they just made it a point to talk about feelings more. Like I remember Sam and Carly having a conversation where she's like, no, how are you taking care of you? And they really made self-care a thing. And then with the boys on the show, even it was a whole thing about like boys, men can have feelings. There was a lot of that. You know what I mean? Like they've grown with the times and they make all of their characters really well rounded. And I loved that with
Mm.
Violet in particular, she was the center of like Chase, Finn, and her grandfather, right? I love just the example. We have a lot of amazing dads on the show, and that's
Yes.
changed too, right? We have all kinds of father figures that are just amazing. And but I liked that combo, right? Violet just had the men in her life and they were amazing. And I just knocking them all off one by one, I guess. But yeah, so I'm just super sad about that. I wasn't anticipating like another major loss on the show, much less with a family that I actually enjoyed watching being built. And I enjoyed their family so much, like the Finn Chase. So I don't know, just very, very disappointed about that.
Oh my gosh, and it was such an emotional week. We talk about the difference of when a character is actually leaving, an actor leaving, and what those scenes entail. And it was a heavy week, like early stars to Violet, because oh my gosh, she had me in tears. That conversation with her and Finn was mind blowing and covered so many levels of things that were like lightly discussed over the past couple of weeks. But what children go through, like it's not your job to take care of your parent, like it's my job to take care of you, and we in turn can take care of each other, but primarily this is about me and healing myself. And it was such a huge conversation. Like I felt like Brooklyn and Chase's tears, like the actors are crying like in
Oh,
real
for it,
life, right?
but it was though because Michael Easton made his post, and I showed it to Johnny, and he's like, "Did you notice?" And when I was showing him, there was more comments, and it was like
Mhm.
all of his co-stars. Like there was like a slew of co-stars expressing how sad they were. And then you had the Violet's Instagram account
Mhm.
posted like these pictures, and her mom wrote something about her daughter's experience on the show and how close she gets to her TV family and TV
Oh.
parents, and how hard it was when the TV mom had left, much less Finn. And so they wrote this huge post. It
Oh
was so sad.
my.
I didn't read it because I knew it would be sad. So I gave it to Johnny, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look. And then he reads it. He's like, this is so sad. He's like, did you look at this? I'm like, no, because I don't want to be. And like, I was avoiding watching that episode, but we watched it, but it was like brutal to get through. So even for that little actress, it's like it's so hard. Like they were a duo. This is who you film all your scenes with. And it was just, I think it made it extra sad between his posts and her posts. And like watching her sad. Like this girl, like honestly, this girl can win an Emmy between her
Oh
scenes when
yes.
Finn told her about her grandfather's death, between finding him on the floor, these scenes, like, oh my gosh, they were just so amazing. I'm just sad because I'm like, what is the plan long term, right? Like he is going to rehab.
Mhm.
What would explain the permanency afterward? Like I don't know what they're doing. Like the only hope I have is that when the episode was over last night, Johnny just goes, there wasn't a montage though. And I'm like, you're right. There
Oh,
wasn't a montage.
wasn't a
There could
montage.
be hope that it's not done, because I can't see that the character you created, because I said the only thing I could think of, like let's say he goes through rehab, like I don't see Finn, skating on his program or
Mhm.
anything like that. The only thing I could think of is that he decides he wants to do Doctors Without Borders again. But even so, I can't imagine him fighting to get back to his daughter and then being like, I'm well now, I can have her, I can handle raising her, but I'm gonna leave. She should stay, like that's the only logical thing I could think of that would explain an extended like absence on the show. But still, the person we know, Finn, like violates his world, he wouldn't.
I know it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around that, or unless they make summer stretch a really long time for it not to feel so bad for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we saw some brutal conversations, but things took a turn, like, especially after things got really real for him and there were real consequences to what he did, thanks to Tracy taking
Mhm.
those pictures. And that's the thing. Like, I remember when they initially came to her, I was like, well, Tracy's powerful. I find it so odd that she's so hands off with this, like she
Mhm.
was a little hands off, just listening to them, cautioning them. But I figured, Tracy, if anybody would have the power to do things, and she did. She did when the time was right to protect Violet, and the way she's stepping in to support Chase in Brooklyn. But it was also real. Like by the time, like even Scott, like when he saw Finn,
Yes.
like his face was like, what? Like this is not you. And then when he was referring to his own experiences with
Mhm.
substance use, I loved how Scott ran immediately to Elizabeth, being like, "Why did you call me? I could have helped you
Oh
in the book."
yeah.
I love that. I love her honorary dad being Scott and mom being Laura.
Yes, because it's such an interesting duo.
Yeah, yeah, and it was really creepy when Finn was just like, he was telling Scott, who obviously knew the shape and could see the shape Finn was in, but to say Chase and Brooklyn had their eye on Violet, and I'm like, they were 100% not shopping for a kid. I promise you
No,
that.
no.
Um, but and then he went to go, like immediately after everything. There was a crucial moment where would he sink further, or what's gonna happen? Is he gonna make a decision? Because he like ordered alcohol. I remember watching that scene.
Mhm.
I looked over at Johnny and I'm like, you can order? I'm like,
I
oh, that's
know.
never mind. Like I forgot the context in which I was watching this. And I was like, no, 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 no. This is bad. This is very bad. And then he was like so close to drinking, but instead he just,
Pulled a Sunny.
yes, he went harder, because remember when he threw the keys? I was like, come on,
Yes.
come on. He pulled a Sunny. But
Yes.
he did sort of shift. He took a walk. He saw Chase, and they were able to have that. But I feel like looking back now, because as the week started, I was wondering how much more time, right? Like the
Yes.
custody. But the fact that like all of this happens, he ends up at the tree, like that's the turning point. So it felt like slow but fast, because the moment he went on the
Yes.
tree, it was like, okay, so this people have been trying to approach him. You took Violet, and man, is this quick. So it was very like midweek. All right, it's official. This is what's happening. You have to go to rehab. You're gone forever. Bye.
I guess, yeah. Let's take you to the back door of the studio and put a sign on it.
Oh my, exactly. I'm like, you could so easily tell that. But the most brutal part, so, the conversation was real. He had it with Chase. He went in to talk to them about
Yes.
like Finn saying goodbye. And then Tracy, because it's like, yeah, she could do the hard stuff because she can. It doesn't mean that she liked doing it. Being at Finn's
Exactly.
place, seeing him like that, taking those pictures, having to use the photos against him, nothing that anybody wanted to do. So I kind of like that symbolic moment. While Finn couldn't exactly make things right. Obviously, he needs help, but I like that scene because symbolically that was him making things right. He had many relationships that need repairing,
Yes.
but the fact that some really significant moments happen where Tracy happened to be the one to get through to him,
Hmm.
and then for her to walk in and him to be, a fraction of himself, and for her to rush and hug him and him to accept that, like that in itself was super beautiful.
It really was. Like I said, it was a really powerful and emotional
Mhm.
week.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. Like he had family. That was his
Right?
family. You know what I mean? The wedding just made everything more official in them being family, something that Finn had already started, right? He already had that relationship with Tracy. And then
Hmm.
the scenes with Violet were just heartbreaking. That poor little girl, her face, you could see how much she was crying.
Oh,
Her mom posted those pictures. She was in tears. Awful, awful. You know, I
oh,
I love this. Like they were bawling in the background, Brooklyn and Chase. It
yes.
was it was such a brutal goodbye, but I love the dialogue. I loved how he handled her questions. I loved his
Yes.
openness, how clear he was with her, how much he reassured her and redirected her as to what she should be focusing on. It broke my heart when she was like, I could fix you. I can help
Yes.
you stop.
Oh.
Ugh, horrible, horrible.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I loved how Brooklyn like went in to, console her, because the last scene is just sort of Violet watching her dad leave, and then Brooklyn goes in and snuggles her. And then when they were on the sofa, the fact that Brooklyn was able to kind of get her to have some things to look forward to, understanding that it wasn't permanent. And then and I love what she did, explaining that this is what family is, right? We're helping you, we're helping your dad, you're helping your dad,
Yeah.
all temporary. Lies, telling that child it's temporary. And that's the thing, right? The clues was Tracy. When Tracy was there, she wouldn't stop saying, this could be more permanent. This could be more permanent. And I'm like,
I
why are
know.
you saying that? Have you no faith that Finn could go through this program? And yeah, and then when she was alone with her, and then Violet just tells Brooklyn, like, I'm so glad you're my aunt. It was really sweet.
It's like the only other thing that I can see that would keep him away weirdly is
Okay.
if there's whisperings of like Violet's mom, like that there's like rumors that she's somewhere and he catches wind of it and he goes like searching for her to not only come home but to bring her whole family home.
It's just
I know it's BS. I'm trying to help myself here.
I know, but it's just like Finn is like Finn liked his missions, right, when he was doing them with Anna.
Yes.
And I could see Hayden being a strong enough reason for him to go off alone, but I just feel like Finn needs a partner. I don't think Finn the doctor can go on a whole mission
I
on
think
his own.
so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not that type. He's
I'm
not going to go in.
reaching.
Yeah, he's not Anna. He's not gonna be like, I'm gonna ditch my kid and go on this adventure and come back. He's not. Yeah, I just
Oh
can't help it. They just
gosh.
come to me. They just Anna's the new Curtis. Curtis hasn't been
Oh
around
my
to do anything
gosh.
for me to poke fun at. But Anna's got plenty going on.
Oh. Okay, can you believe? Like literally, I'm watching the TV. I'm like, no, I cannot believe this. I'm like,
But okay, this is the thing though. This is the thing. She's acting like telling Jason, this is the job. I'm like, it's not though. Like
It's
you
not
insisted.
though.
Nobody forced you. Nobody asked you. Nobody said you had to go in and you have to do this. He literally said, let me go in and search the place when he's not
Yeah.
around. Easy peasy. Jason would have went in. He would have looked around. He would have, 15 minutes, looked around everywhere, went in the office, found the phone. Boom. She's like, no, just give me some time to date him, to touch him, to get closure in my situation. Like I was just like, what is going on? And I loved the natural like progression, the honest, because like Jason comes on the scene blindly trusting her, right? And I love
Yes.
that they're showing this, that he's like, wait a minute. Like I love how they're showing that Jason had like all this faith in her, but then he works with her and is like, no, this isn't working for me. There's something odd here. And then like the eye rolls when he looks into the windows and like just sees what she's doing. And then it just gets awkward because I'm like, okay, so she made out with him. That's awesome. I thought she was playing the long game, like, let's date. I'll come over a lot. Give me a key. But she's like, no, no, no. Like, I'm gonna do this and I'll snoop in the morning. Cool. And then like what I can't what I can't wrap my head around is like
Tell me.
so
Because,
so
yep.
Jason parked outside. Okay.
All night.
And just because he knew. Well, they all knew. Everybody knew. And this is the thing. I'm like, everyone knows. Like Valentine knows. This one's like, I haven't wrapped around my little finger. I'm like, no, the guy's being
No.
creepy. He's being intense. He barely wants you to leave the house. He even stands in front of the door as you're leaving. It's so threatening. And he stares at you like a creeper outside the window because
Right?
he knows. And she thinks she's so slick. She's like, Jason, you gotta go. It's morning. He can see outside. He might see you. It's like he's been on to you like way before. Like, look how intense he's
Uh,
being. Like, look at all the time he showed you zero attention. Do you remember all of that? Do you remember all the time where like, because he was throwing like Charlotte in her face. So,
yes.
so there was all this time where all the love she said, because she said it's a fact. He loves me. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fact. Hard fact, actually. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
as we all
I
came
mean,
to learn.
truly.
Um, so and, and so, but he didn't pursue her until now. The timing
Right?
is quite interesting. Just when she's investigating him, all his love came back and all the love feelings returned. And so he just waited outside until she was finished. And what's worse,
And some.
and then like the next day she says it out loud. She's like, you stayed even after you saw the lights go out. And I'm like, yes, Anna, because unlike you, everyone else thought it was still a mission. Okay. So he just figured, let me stay in case there's danger, where you're like, no, 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 the mission was over. Like I looked for the first 5 minutes, nothing was there. The rest was just me having a night. And then what was worse was when she said we should come up with a system. Like this is what she's telling Jason. We should come up with a system. I'm like, you mean a sock on the door? Like,
Oh
what are
my
you
God.
talking about? When are you gonna do this
Literally.
again? When are you planning on doing this again? And then she sits there like a victim, like she's sacrificing. She's like, it's the job, and Valentine needs to pay for what he's done. So I will do it. That was her line. I will do it. And I'm like, yeah, again and again. If it's twice a day, once a day, I will do this as a sacrifice for this country. And I'm just like, what is going
Exactly.
on? What is going on? Like, literally, any agent could have just done the mission just when he wasn't home. You know what I mean? Like, you insisted on being at his house with him at nighttime and with wine, whereas Jason was suggesting to be in his house just alone. Faster that way, efficient.
At least he knows now. Like, I think I'm going to give an early start to Jason's eyebrow when she was talking this through, and he's just like, "Yeah, no, you just want to do what you want to do in the dark. I have business to take care of."
But even he kind of poked fun at her and kind of like gave
Yes.
her a look. And I'm like, this is just awkward. And then what I did like though is the nostalgia, like Jason
Yes.
calling Maxie, and there is a rekindling of past little cliques, if you will, like past people
Yes.
that used to like interact. So I thought that was kind of nice that he called Max. There was a lot of outside scenes that day.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know where this like outdoor cafe situation, but it was lovely.
Probably the parking lot, like on.
I know, right? Just set up some tables. It's a regular
Oh,
cafe.
oh my gosh. So yeah. So Jason let Anna do things her way. And what she's suggesting is continue to let me do it my way. And eventually we'll get somewhere. So now they need to go back to get the phone.
Yes.
Since we've been talking about this entire mission, okay. Sam. Sam.
What happened to Sam?
Sam was trying to help. That's what she said.
She helped like Curtis. She helps like Anna. I didn't know she would go down this path of helping. It's a
Oh
dangerous path.
man. Okay, so this is what bugged me. So Sam marches home to Dante, but it's funny because she was gallivanting for an entire week last week. So it's just funny to know that
Exactly.
for an entire week she's just been like weird closet room at Spinelli's house, Carly's hotel, just for an entire week of walking. And then she finally gets home and we finally see Dante again.
She made
And
it.
then she
Hmm.
dumps it all on him. She's like, oh my God, FBI stealing files, had a mission, all illegal. And Dante's like, whoa,
What? I
what
loved
are
it
you
so much.
doing? Because he's always there. He's so legal, but it's good.
Yes.
It's good that he is. But what bugged me a lot is that Sam brought this to him after knowing how much Dante struggles to toe the line with Sunny. And she's even
Thank
supported him on
you.
that fact. And I just
Yes.
couldn't believe that, he gets mad at Sunny for putting him in certain positions. Everybody knows that they have to be careful with what they say around him, which is why in the
Hmm.
past, when she was helping Cody, she limited what she told Dante to not get him in trouble
Yes.
until Dante said, just let me help. Like Dante
Yes.
was the one who approached her, let her know what was okay, and then jumped in that way. But Sam just kind of lost it and dumped everything on him. Dante was
Yes.
in literal disbelief. And what got me was when he said, your actions can get you taken away from your kids. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And she's walking around like talking about everyone's parenting, being like, oh my gosh, Carly, if something happens to my kids, it's gonna be your fault, Jason's fault, everyone's fault. Then you hear the bar slam. She's like behind bars. She's like, no one's gonna know it was me. He doesn't even know who I am. I just told them a weird story about how my ex-husband came back from the dead and that he was gone for a really long time. He's never gonna know who I am. He's never gonna find me. Like, that is ridiculous. He saw her face, and during that conversation, he obviously put two and two together because the story is just way too bizarre. What did
Right?
you think? What did you think? Of course he would know. And the fact that, like Dante pointed out, they're basically just showing us how the FBI is gonna find Sam, because he's like, he knows Spinelli. It's not gonna take a long time before he puts the dots together. Much less, it's like he knows who Dante is, like the wife, like all of the connections. Like Kate's may not be the best at putting dots together, considering like the way he went to Carly and everything, but this
Yes.
I think he could figure out.
Oh my gosh, like seriously. And what made me laugh the most is Dante's just literally like truth telling. He didn't
Yeah.
raise his voice. And he's not being rude. He's just like literally laying out the facts and basically like rubbing his head, being like, oh gosh, I can't believe I have to do this again. And then she turns around, she's like, don't talk to me like that. I'm like, what is happening? What conversation are you in here? Because
I
I
know. And
am
when
hearing him trying to gently show you that what you're doing puts you in harm's way.
this takes me back to when,
Right?
because like when he was hugging her and I saw Dante's face, he's like, honestly, I didn't think I'd have to do this again after Lulu, because it took me
Right?
back to the time she thought, I'm gonna go undercover
Yes.
in a brothel to save
Oh,
my
to find my
dad.
father. I
Yeah, so
cannot.
many. I remember the whole time I watched that storyline, I'm like,
Right.
this is so weird. This is so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. And like that's what I mean. I just don't think Dante thought he had to come back to that sort of dynamic.
Uh-huh.
And then I loved how he was like, yeah, Jason came by, picked up Danny. Danny Boyd, he went to the gym. So good, right? And she's like, what? It's like, well, you couldn't have known because I found out all this news. Now that I know why he was away, saving the person he cared about. Can't
Are we?
possibly take Danny to the gym. I was like, where have you been? Like, where have you been? Like, because I feel like it's been days, right?
Yes.
From the time she went to the pool to confront Carly to ask for that favor and then everything that ensued afterward. But like, that's what I mean. Dante was just like, I was pretty sure. Like, I'm lucid for the most part. Okay. And I felt that like why like everything was fine. Like last I heard, given I live with you, share a bed,
Right.
we chit chat all the time, all over the place, all over the house. I knew that everything was cool between you and Jason, pretty much. And I loved even when Danny came over, he's like, oh, he's the best dad ever. And I love how Dante was like, no, I totally get it. And I think it's so sweet because it's like there's still such
Yeah.
huge room for a man like Dante to give Danny, be like, I totally get you, because that's something they can bond on, is to really understand
Exactly.
what that's like. But then when she was like, I was just trying to help, she's like, he did this for Carly. He did it for her. And Dante was like, okay, okay.
And
And then she's like, I don't want Danny to know that he'll choose Carly over everything. And I'm like,
like,
Dante is
don't.
a detective. He
Yeah.
heard what you said. He heard it. He knows
Yeah.
what you're saying. He'll always choose Carly over me. And now he'll do it with Danny. And I hate to break it to her, but like, I know you feel that like Jason chose Carly over you, and he did. But he
Fact.
also will choose Danny over you too. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I understand that she is hurt by this reality, why they couldn't move forward in their life together. But at the end of the day, like, I don't see, like, Jason walked out. He didn't care to sit and talk with Sam and Dante. He left. And
Yes.
so I don't think he is cavalier about the way in which he views his sons, both Danny and Jake. And I think that Sam means less for sure now.
Wait, what do you mean she means less?
In her eyes, she's not important to him, and therefore, Danny's not important to him. But I just don't think that's true. I just don't think she's part of his equation anymore.
Oh, 100%.
And
Like
and
his
I
focus is with his kids.
and he loves Danny, and Danny is important, and I understand what he did, but the funny thing is, I kind of think that Danny would get it. And that's the thing, like I just don't like her putting this black and white view that Jason just blatantly was like, Carly, you are so much more important than my kids and my family, like acting as if it was so simplistic. And I think it goes back
Mhm.
to just his world, right? Like it's not a world you can walk away from, which is something she had to explain to Michael. Like it's a dangerous world. You can't just decide you're not in it except for death,
Yes.
you know. But
Apparently.
well, and Milo was able to kind of get out. But the point is, they had such big parts in the mob. And that's the thing. Jason knows that Carly's life is what it is because of the world she got pulled into. And I think that's something he takes seriously. That's the whole point. And I think as much as Sam keeps saying Carly is more important, I think it's more than that. Like it's the life. Like you got out of it for a reason because he's
Yes.
part of the mob. And at the end of the day, you can have a family for sure, but the mob will always come first. Like look at Sonny. Like he can love his family to death, but business will always come
Mhm.
first because that's life or death. And it's I don't think Sam can distinguish the two, but at the end of the day, Carly and Jason, yes, they 100% have a bond and a relationship, but she is part of the life like him. And that's just a
Yes.
reality. That's a reality. And that kind of like honor, sacrifice, this world is something I think Danny would understand. And I don't know that he would see it as black and white as Sam does.
Well, even in the conversations, like we've really kind of slowly got to know who Danny is and how much he wants to get to know his father, and that adorable, sweet scene in the garage. Like he's asking all kinds of questions, getting to know him. And even in his responses to his father, you can see that he understands that his world is not black and white. It was like right there, showing us that his life before the accident, after the accident, and all of the gray area in between, you can see that he understood that or started to.
I That was crazy, right?
Right?
Because Jason evolved before now, right? More so now than the past. But Jason did eventually grow to be less stubborn, grow to understand the value of family,
Mm-hmm.
build a relationship with Monica. As he grew older, he understood the parent-child relationship and understood how much his parents were hurting, even
Yes.
though he didn't like that they were trying to control him. And he found a way to try his best to connect with his family. But this is on another level, given that he has kids that are older, and the fact that we're sitting in a garage having
Oh,
this conversation and him having
yes.
to revisit that whole incident, it kind of it was really intense. Like, this is a scene I never thought I would see, but now that I heard the story and now that I'm talking to you, I kind of wonder. You got Jake, you got Danny, you got two brothers. Are they going to take some of the essence of like the Jason AJ? I don't know. I hope not. I hope there's not going to be an
I
accident.
hope
But
not.
Johnny
Yeah.
noticed the ominous music when they were at the motorcycle, and then asked something about riding or the bike or whatever, and Johnny noticed the
Mm-hmm.
music, and I'm like, I really hope there is
Uh,
nothing of the sort. But I was hoping that they would get to the other part, because when they were talking about, he goes, "Oh, you're attracted to danger," whatever, and then he explained, "Oh, it was a TBI." I was like, at what point are we going to point out that in his DNA
mm-hmm.
is a mild mannered Quartermain daddy? That's
A
the DNA.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Sam, like, it was interesting because they got close. They got close to that
Mm-hmm.
topic because she keeps saying
Mm-hmm.
it's his nature, it's his nature. No, it was a result of a traumatic brain injury,
Yes.
actually. So this is
Yes.
interesting. Like, it's being brought up, and I wonder if that will be pursued, because I could see that being a funny thing for Danny to throw in her face.
I do too.
Yeah. I kind of I kind of see that possibly going down. But Carly decided, because like now that she knows, she decided to go consult with Diane. Also her scenes with Spinelli, actually, because it was Spinelli first, then Diane, because I think between the two of them, they said a lot of really important things to Carly that I thought
Yes.
she digested and accepted and understood. But I have to say, Spinelli's entrance into her office, that whole thing was just so fiery and fun, because Carly had been holding it together. She dealt with Sam. Then the bizarre
Yes.
Kate stuff where he's like, "You're like my only friend." She's like, "I hate you and I want to
Ugh.
stab you." And,
Yes, I loved it.
and then, so she's holding it together, processing what he's done for her. And then Spinelli walks in and she lets it rip. And it was pretty funny watching her vent.
Yes, I loved it because Spinelli is so he's lovely and he can handle it and he
Yes.
knows and he doesn't agree with what Sam did and her approach to the situation. And it was just nice to see them together in a scene as well.
It was, though, and I think it was comforting for Spinelli too, because I think he thought that when he was doing all this with Sam, that they were on the same page in the same
Yeah.
world, and they're not of the same world anymore, right? Like, Spinelli's not directly in the mob, but he wouldn't hesitate to jump in if needed, as is Carly, right? So they're
Yes.
on the periphery, but able to step in. So they really do share, they're on the same page, and they're definitely part of the same world, especially when Jason's concerned. So I
Yes.
think even for Spinelli, it was probably needed for him too to be in a space where someone saw things the way he does. And so not only was it funny, her venting and mentioning Agent Kate's, but then all of a sudden I was actually
Mm.
shocked about how direct their conversation was. That, Spinelli, I think, pointed out the obvious by saying, if you were to do anything, you would be making all of his sacrifices for nothing. And then he started to compare their relationship to his and Maxie's. But again, they are in a romantic relationship and are in love.
Yeah. I
And
was
like, because like, just to kind of point out, because I didn't think about this before, but you know, Maxie and Spinelli, they had their little romantic thing and it
mhm.
didn't work out, and they were best friends for a really long time.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of like toying with this end game thing. And I guess I didn't realize it when I was watching the scene, and I'm only connecting those dots now, but like, it's a shorter pattern, but it's similar. It's the same one.
It's the same. I was like, it is the same girl. I
Yeah,
couldn't believe
what
it.
did you think?
I got my hopes up so high because we've been talking about this since he came back on the scene.
Yep.
we knew it couldn't happen immediately, but there was the lingering hug, the lingering finger touch. They look into each other's eyes like a little second longer. And I'm hoping that this is okay, we're getting there, guys. Like, patience, we're gonna get there. Hold tight.
Well, we didn't know, right? There was new writers, like
Hmm.
we didn't know what would happen. And yes, you're right. There was so much intensity being portrayed, but then it was like there was interviews. There were interviews with the actors, and definitely like it just felt like there was no space for it, right? Because they had
Yes.
explicit conversations about it too,
Hmm.
even on the show about their status. So we kind of were like, oh, okay, well that sucks. Like I wanted it. You kind of seeing that chemistry on the in the scenes, and we kind of
Yes.
like, I don't know that they're gonna go down that road, especially when like there was a bit of a bridge between Carly and Sunny. We're like, really? This? Like I thought we were done with that. But now I think the door is opening again because a long time ago, I think even the actors had said this, and we said it, that Sonny would have to be dead. And he was. That's how it sort of started. He was dead for
Yes.
9 months. But the actors also said it would be weird with Sonny still there, their whole little trio. That would be odd. But the thing is, it's like all of that's dead, right? Like they've explicitly shown Sonny in his new world. They literally showed that his new world consists of Natalia, and like he couldn't be happier to be back, in Kristina's good graces, and how he popped in on Kristina and Alexis. And they're really pulling after such a dramatic situation, a violent situation that pulled Kristina and Sonny apart. We're
Hmm.
watching them all of a sudden be pulled together. We're watching the possibility of both Sonny and Kristina simultaneously going through custody
Yes.
issues. So that's interesting, but they're really making a point of showing him creating a new situation for himself with Natalia. So it's like there is this division in terms of Sonny's world has become its own. He reiterated today that there was a break between people who used to matter to him that are no longer a part of his life. Like he basically doubled down on that. And it was interesting because
Yes.
Natalia said Ava doesn't seem like the one that got away.
Yes. I laughed so hard.
His answer was so funny. She's like, "Oh, so Nina." Then he's like, "No, no, another mistake, another." Not that he would tell anybody, right?
Yes.
He'll never admit that to anyone else. And he didn't say Carly's name, but he
Hmm.
implied that there were two people. And when I think of Natalia, it's really interesting. We've had a lot of non-Carly show up, right? So basically, there was Carly and him, and then every once in a while, you throw in some rando.
Yes.
But I think of all of the non-Carlys to jump in.
Hmm.
I think this one has potential. Like I don't know if I would ever go as to like so far as to say like a forever thing, but definitely more realistic. She's very fiery. They're both like we don't like many people. We have strong personalities. I think she could have Carly's stomach for his world, and
Huh.
she
It's
plays. Yeah, she plays. I don't know. I just feel like she could definitely hold her own. She definitely wouldn't tolerate being sidelined
yes.
the way that Nina was. Even Ava, even though she was let in, she was sidelined in other ways. So I could see how Sonny could just have his own world and actually focus on Natalia. Like I could see her having a strong influence.
Hmm.
Sam is creating her own world, like actually by herself, because nobody can relate to what's happening with her right now. Not
No,
Dante,
at
not
all.
Nelly, not like anyone. Somebody wrote the funniest comment on Instagram on our page. They said like sister, like being like Sam is just like Kristina.
Yeah, I kind of made that comment 2 weeks ago, just kind of saying
Yeah.
like we're definitely seeing a different side, and poor Christina gets criticized for so much, but Sam is like off the rock right now, way worse.
Yeah, but nobody sees it, right? Like her
I
siblings don't see
know.
it. So
So
whenever she's there, she's
frustrating.
like, I'm going to judge you and I'm going to ask you questions because I think you're handling your life wrong. But yet nobody sees her running around doing any of her wackadoo stuff.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's messed up. But just getting back to like Natalia for a second, I do think there's like a lot of underlying things that she doesn't talk about. Like they talked a lot about darkness
Yeah.
and like the way they like people. So I am wondering a little bit more about her past and what that means and what
Mm-hmm.
she's been involved in, right? And we've kind of discussed this, like
Mm-hmm.
when she came onto the landscape, when they had the wedding, and then Blaze is there and said they have family there. So yes, I do think at this point in time they're an incredible match. And the funny thing is, or the weird thing, or whatever the right word is, like really right now, she's seeing him at his absolute worst, and they're like creating this relationship and this foundation, right? So like imagine when
Yeah.
she sees him when he's all like charismatic and like keeps it together.
That is so true. That honestly, that could be quite meaningful. The fact that she's getting to know him at his worst, but I just felt like they were making this official. Like I felt like he was full blown inaugurating Natalia into his world. He's like, Ava's out, by the way. Guess who's in next? I'll give you a hint. You know,
Oh my gosh. And you know what too? She put her toes in the water. You know, like the expression like dip your what is it? I don't know. I'm
dip
gonna
your
mess it up
toe in the
anyways.
water, like literally dip your toe in the water.
I was like, they're really like laying it on thick for us to know that she's in now,
Yeah.
floored.
Yeah. And like they already had like their family dinners, like they could double date.
Oh my gosh. That's okay. So I guess Christina's like, everything's cool now.
Well, I mean, she said that they're like buffers, so they're a
Yes.
vehicle to having a relationship with Sunny. But I mean, talk about a fifth wheel, like ooh, ooh. When Ava walked in, I was like, damn, this is awkward. Like she could have saved face. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't realize you were busy, and like left.
Yes.
But no, no, she's
No. Oh,
fighting
it was
Natalia.
I felt
Ugh.
so awkward watching because it's like they're so solid. This foursome was like really vibing. Like that
Oh
energy was just
yeah.
like palpable. Like it was like reaching for meters. And then Ava walks in, it was like boop, 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 boop. I'm gonna make this awkward.
It was so bad. She's like, I'm feeling a little peckish. I'm gonna go grab a chair, like a literal fifth wheel. So when Christina stood up and said what she said, I'm like, what? Why? And then I remembered
Yeah,
why.
me
Not
too.
that there's much of a reason. There's so many reasons,
I
but like,
know.
but but the thing is, I'm at this point. It's like Sonny, if he's you know if he understands what matters, it's Christina, and obviously getting her to like see him the way she used to. So he has every reason to just side with Christina. But the fact that like he was so like, what, you did that to Alexis?
Yes.
I'm gonna care a lot about it. That's what I'm gonna do because that's my daughter's mom. And you snitch. I don't really like that. Nina did it too. It's just I cannot for the life of me. I just can't wrap my head around the parallels between Ava and Nina at this point in terms of that,
Honestly,
right?
come
Like,
on. Yes.
like the whole like Ava explaining, like, yeah, you told on them, it was legal, but still, you betrayed. That's how Sunny's gonna see it. And then
Yes.
she did this secretly and not even owning it. So I kind of forgot about that. And Christina says it. She leaves, and I love it. She's like, "Excuse me," and I'm like, "What leg do you have to stand on truly in this moment to kind of go at Christina or even try?" But then when Christina turns around and tells her dad, "After everything that woman has done to our family, how could you let her stay under your roof?" And I'm like, "Where was this speech with Nina?"
I know it's so frustrating and confusing, but like I'm gonna take it now with Ava. But yes, it makes me really upset that she had major blinders because, well, okay, let me rephrase. It was like the before where she lived in this like perfect world where she needed to fit in and she tiptoed and walked on eggshells. But all of
Hmm.
that is gone now.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a reset.
But do you know what it is though? It's
Tell
just
me.
that Nina brought her close to her dad, and that's also I think a big part of it, right?
Oof,
Like Ava
yeah.
was a wedge between her and Sunny because she was like practically competing for a top spot, including over Christina. And she could
Yes.
sense that, the power trip, the inserting herself, the invasiveness. Nina was like desperate for anybody to like her,
True.
and she really was desperate for a child, and Nina had a different vibe. She was really more welcoming, and I think gave Christina that attention and space in Sunny's life, and they were kind of samesies, Christina and Nina. And I mean, it's
True.
not that Carly ever would keep Christina from her dad, but when he was with Carly, right, he was a family with her and her kids. And I think that's just a reality. But when it comes to really connecting with her dad and knowing anything about him, Carly is the one that she goes to. She was in her life the longest. But I just think Nina especially created this bridge between Sunny and gave her access. in a way that I don't think Christina's felt she's had before.
No, I love that. That definitely plays a part.
So, anyways, Ava is playing, you know, she's playing dumb. Like, what do you mean? Oh, Kristina, you're gonna listen to your daughter about the truth, right? Right. It was really
She's
bad, like,
pregnant. How dare you listen?
oh my gosh. But it was bad because it's like Ava's not dumb. She sees that she was losing any influence over Sunny, but she's acting
Yeah.
like she still has it. And it's everything changed in the sense that Sunny is now infatuated by a different woman, pretty much. He just wanted to stay busy between the transition from Nina into a world
Yes.
without anyone. You were there. And I just feel like Ava's bizarre long game of just being in Sunny's good graces, it's like, for what? Right? Like when he came back, that would have been an opportune moment to fight for custody, to keep custody. She was like,
Yes.
oh, pushing Sunny and Nina together. Yeah, we're all friends. Nina's my friend. Be with her. It'll make my life easier if he's not with Carly. Yeah, except you're the only baby mama under his thumb. Carly's kid, like, he doesn't have custody over Donna. She even stopped Donna from
Yes.
seeing him. Like, Dante's mom kept her kid a secret. Alexis, kept her kid away. It's just,
Yeah.
this is just strange to me. Like, this whole needing to stay close, and if it really is about Avery, because at this point she's worried, like, that, oh, if they drag up my dirt. But I'm just thinking, on what planet does Sunny get full custody of a kid?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you.
Because even if, like, I get that she asked Laura, but even that, I'm like, what are you doing? Right? She pulls Laura in,
Hmm.
she kind of drops all this dirt, and I'm like, oh wow, did Laura find a legal battle she didn't want to get involved in? and
Hmm.
then and then Ava won her over. She's like, I thought you said we were family. She's like, I did. This is what I get for opening myself up to all these people. Now I have to honor what I said. And so I thought it was really funny. But yeah, like, Laura sees the reality and will testify for Ava. But I'm just saying, like, put anybody on the stand. Put
Hmm.
anyone on the stand. And at the end of the day, they're not going to agree that Sunny is the best. You know what I mean? Like, so I just, not that I feel like it's a stretch, but I do actually feel like it's a stress, this fear of the whole custody thing. Like, if you have
Yes.
shared custody, how would he have the right to keep Avery from you just because you're at a hotel?
I know it was a really big jump, and I know it's a soap opera and has to be dramatic, but I just found it exactly as simple as, well, we have an agreement. This is what our agreement is. A hotel is an establishment where we stay. Um, my daughter will be here.
Oh my gosh. And then at the end of today's episode, with her drinking on the roof, and, like, I think she says, like, to new beginnings, but I find it funny, but it's like, it's a new beginning for, like, Ava's villainy, returning to that whole thing. And I do think that
Yes,
they created hints of, like, her person being Nicholas. I mean, they were way entertaining together.
they really were, though. I liked them together.
Yeah, I really, really did. So in terms of, like, all this custody stuff, I do think that she should talk with Molly, because Molly and TJ are fine. Like, did we not see that? First of all, is that a new sofa
Oof.
armchair?
I did not notice any of that.
And so when TJ started talking, I'm like, there he is. He's
Yeah.
back. He's back. And Molly's like, yes. And they were back, you know? And this is so insane. Christina's like, I've got to do all of this because this married couple fought. And everyone keeps trying to tell her, are you sure that they're not going to work it out? And even, like, Alexis, when she was saying, are you sure there's a part of you that doesn't want them to split? Because this whole custody thing, even there, is a bit odd, because if your agreement was to give the baby up for adoption, like, I would imagine that you would have the paperwork at the ready, right? Like, when you have the
Yes.
baby, I would imagine that before you handed over the baby, that you guys would be dealing with the adoption papers, even if it was, like, immediately after. So it's like, if you had adopted the baby, I mean, I adoptive parents would have legal rights. You know what I mean? Like, yes, TJ's
Yes.
the biological father, but if Molly adopted the child, those are the parents.
Yes, exactly.
And so she thinks she's keeping the baby in the family, because from what I understood, if she gets custody, she was saying legally the judge would want me to raise the baby. And I'm like, I don't,
Ay.
what is going on? So Yeah, this is really bad because Molly is in the worst of spots. Like you're gonna, because like at the
Truly.
end she says it explicitly. I'm gonna sue TJ for custody. Like, what do you know what I mean? Like they're not in a bad spot. Like, what is Molly gonna do? Her fear is losing the baby. What does she do?
It's like they're really missing a conversation because I don't know what the gap of time is, but Alexis is really not helpful. And she's not like, go talk to your
No,
sister like right now, or let's have your sister over and have an open conversation. I'll be a buffer. No. So right now it's just like Christina's missing this whole important chunk of information because TJ and Molly are too busy doing it to like let her know what's going on.
I know. And it could be a week. The time
Jeez,
is
we don't know.
but no, but for real though, like I know Alexis doesn't want to get involved, but I think it's highly recommended that she tell Molly and insist on it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Listen. We talked about like the things, but like Jason and Carly
Oh
had a
boy.
conversation today, after even Diane said to her, what on earth, like in what world
What
does
planet?
Jason planet does
Mm-mm.
Jason need saving? I love that she went to Brennan, and I knew he was going to say that you can't trust me, kind of a thing. He still gave
Yes.
her good advice. They have such an interesting dynamic. They have an interesting relationship because it's so incredibly fiery to watch. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so when they were fighting, so again, she's spoken to Spinelli, she's spoken to Diane. I do think it's smart, the advice that Brennan gave her, get a case going. And I think it's good to have that, right? Have it locked up and ready to go should the FBI make some bizarre move. Not
Mm-hmm.
for you to go initiate some confession.
Right?
And when they were arguing, like Jason and Carly, like it is what it is, but he made a choice. And given that he's the one who gave up his time, like he gets to choose. But it's kind of funny though, because like Carly understands and she's frustrated and she just should just accept that. I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, but I'll accept that. Yeah, it's a double standard. He's basically saying, too bad for you. You don't like what it feels me sacrificing for you. But if you sacrifice for me, it's going to feel worse. So tough. And I get it. Logically, it seems weird, but she should understand the nuances and that he made this choice. And like look at his tears, like
Oh
his
my
eyes
gosh, right?
tear. Carly, back off. Let him do his thing. And like what are they going to do? They can't keep him a secret. Everybody knows he's there, right? He can't exactly be a secret agent when the world knows that Jason Morgan is alive. But I was disappointed by the ending because they were fighting back and forth, and the 11th hour made no sense. She's like, I changed my mind. I'm like, from what? Like, from
What?
the two
I
inches
know.
you walked closer, you changed your mind? Like, how did you forget all the logic you claim to have understood? And then I was just like, you should have made out.
Okay, so my brain went two ways. He should have just exactly that kissed her so she would stop talking because it was
Mm-hmm.
there, the vibe is there.
Yeah.
Or next scene, which I'm hoping that Curtis opens his gym up really soon because I could totally see a scene where she's sparring with Jason or Jason showing her how to punch the punching bag. Like, this is how we deal with stress. Don't run to Diane. Don't turn yourself in. Just punch it out, lady.
That's where your mind went to you
Yeah,
of all
to the
people. You're
gym.
like, I think that they're going to end up in the gym boxing together. Really?
I said make out first. I said my mind went two ways.
I was like, that is just very like I did not expect that. That was unexpected. That's what that scene was. I would love to maybe see them at the gym, but I felt like that was definitely an opportunity because we're kind of wondering, is there place for these two? Yes or no? This is a long standing friendship, but we saw like, we talked about happening with Spinelli and Maxie.
Yes.
But that felt like a moment. There's been a lot of intense one, but this fight of just shut up and let me do this, I felt like that really could have been a moment because I'm like, where do we go from here? You're having this intense conversation. This secret that Jason had is now out. Too many people know. Dante asked Sam never to talk about it again. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're not going to make out, I don't see what the point is.
I think that it's the lead up
Two?
to and I love you because at the end of the day, all they keep talking about is sacrifice. The only time they mentioned the word love was when Carly was with Spinelli. But the way Jason and her refer to it, they're covering up the word love with sacrifice. And until
Okay.
he says that word, like, I did it, like, I can hear him, like how his face goes, just like, God, Carly, I did it because I love you. But in a way that's not just I love you in friendship, but in a way that explains their love in that way that he does when his eyes water up and he's just staring at her intensely. When that moment happens, then she'll understand it, I think, on a different level and have to let it go because they had their chance. This one absolute weird moment in time where everything stopped just for them. Is she willing to throw that away?
Throw what away?
All of her time, all of his sacrifice, all of the time
Yeah.
they've chosen to stay apart and put their love in a box,
Yeah.
is she going to keep repeating that same pattern or be in a relationship where she is with her best friend and in love with him?
Well, the actress had said the last time they felt that, it was rushed and they didn't get enough time. Like they wanted this
Yes.
obligatory marriage at which point they would fall in love slowly. So
Hmm.
yeah, I do think that there could be an opportunity that for sure. And I kind of want, like, I feel like this is the direction they're pointing us because I'm like, don't shove all this intensity at us and then be like, we're just really good best friends. It's
Yeah,
like
I
we're not
can't.
applying it anymore. Like I know it was weird the first time because of the context in which it happened, the speed, but I mean, you still felt that it was kind of fun for the fans who actually watched them when they were messing around with each other. Then they became friends and watched throughout the years. It was kind of crazy to create this space and time where they have this opportunity. But now I feel like the idea has settled in and they're showing us that and the chemistry is there. So like I'm excited. I'm excited. Like I'm literally on pins and needles for about what could happen.
Me too. Okay, I think we covered all of the things and
All
talked
of
about
the
all of
things.
the stuff. Okay, so I am going to. Do you have any favorite lines? Let's go there first.
Oh, I think there's just really one funny one. It was when Carly was like rambling to Spinelli about Kate's, and he's like, "Well, what did you say?" He said, "Well, I said I hope you like your stay in Port Charles." Like, I don't know. I just like the venting. So maybe, yeah, that fave and gold star, all of the Spinelli Carly stuff.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my favorite line was, I think it was from today actually, with Chase and Brooklyn, where Chase says, I'm easier to get along with, and Brooklyn says, that's a lot of words for pushover.
Oh, there was one from there too. It was when she was trying to tell him what the pros were about all the maternal figures. And
Hmm.
then he said you didn't name Tracy. He's like, well, neither did she. That was really good. I
That
like
was
that.
so good. Like so many stars this week, of course, to all of the Finn scenes, and everybody was with him.
Violet.
Violet, Chase, Tracy, Brooklyn, Lois. Lois scenes with Brooklyn. She is such a great maternal figure in that household to keep her busy and take her everywhere and distract her, and such a great support to Brooklyn at the same time. That bonding with like Tracy and Brooklyn, like so many stars there, to Carly, Jason, what else you got? Oh, Geo and that little crew. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. The whole like Geo, Dex, Joss, Trina. Like I love them. I want to see like more mingling.
Oh yeah, like this is what I had to say about Trina. I was just surprised how they put her in the middle of Sunny and Ava. That was
All
kind of
right.
intense. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that, because when they were talking about Ava, do you know what she's capable of? Because she hurt Sunny, I just thought, oh, okay, like Trina would side with Ava and be like, well, what about what Sunny would do to Ava? I was actually surprised when she came out with, well, you know, Ava could hurt Sunny. Like I was actually surprised that that was sort of the angle. And I'm so curious about this maybe new dynamic between Trina and Ava, but I was just sort of surprised of her being thrown into that.
Me too.
And I loved how they're trying to make Joss down to earth and mature.
I
They're
know.
like,
So
she cleans,
funny.
she knows how,
She's like obsessed with it, guys.
and also she judges less. She judges less. And her and Dex, oh my gosh, the
Uh,
de-escalation training, I started laughing. He's
so
like, maybe you
funny.
could do a role play because it's like, I'm like, because I was laughing, like she'll escalate anything. And I thought it was so funny when he like pointed that out. Kind of like the Brooklyn chase, actually. That was kind of cute. It's a similar way they tease each other.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna give a start to the Jason and Danny scene, and I also because we wanted to see this whole like father figure role and how it's gonna fit
Yeah.
in with like the baby mamas. And he had a lovely scene with Elizabeth too this week, just talking about Jake and him just checking in on her and her trying to like help him out. You know, like that he's still into baseball and that she would love to see them hang out, but she's not gonna influence his decision. Like I love seeing him like just making sure that he's in these people's lives and knows
No,
that he's not going anywhere.
but more than that, it's like night and day. He said, "Thank you for not getting in the way." She's just, but it's
Yes.
but the thing is, it's like she's not. This is the thing, right? Like they share similar values, right? She honors a person's ability to make choices, and especially
Yes.
her. She's never liked the fact, and even Cameron had brought this up too. Like my mom is not a delicate flower, and
Yes.
Elizabeth she doesn't want to be protected. She wants to make her own choices, and so the fact that she is really, this is about Jake. It's about how she loves her son. She understands he's a separate person. She understands the limit of her control, and she just wants to be there around and maintain this strong relationship. So I just thought that was beautiful. It's like night and day from Sam. Like Sam's running around saying, "Look at what you did to his kids and to Danny and to Jake." But it's like, have you talked to Elizabeth? Like she doesn't share that. And frankly, the way that Elizabeth's relationship has evolved with Carly and with Jason, the fact that she understood Jason has the right to make his own choices, I feel like
Hmm.
Elizabeth may have less to say about the topic.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, no, definitely a gold star to the Elizabeth Jason moment for sure. And mostly just Elizabeth though, for just, being exceptional when it comes to her kids.
Heck yeah, she's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's a wrap. Have a fantastic weekend,
Oh,
everybody. Oh,
oh
yes.
guys, Amel is coming to Montreal for a week. And usually when she's here on vacay, we don't do a podcast. So I don't
Oh,
right now.
yeah. Great point.
Yeah. So so I think that's it for the summer, because last summer we had 2 weeks where we weren't recording, but that's not going to be the case this summer. It's just this one, guys. And I took
Just
my
this
break
one.
like a couple weeks ago. So we should be good, everyone. We should be good.
Keep listening.
Oh wow. Okay, just yelling it from the background. If we're yelling things, I'll yell their stuff. We have a merch store.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're done yelling at them, we can let them go.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.